500,000 kilo cloud proves divinity. Really? Let's look at the details. Hey everyone, it's Cleophie again from Cleophie Podcast. Thanks for joining us today. We've noticed that our largest audience comes from India, so we've decided to offer the podcast in Hindi and Urdu. It's not about dubbing audio. Actually, it is a separate podcast in the Urdu and Hindi languages. You can find the link in the video description. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Now, let's move to the next segment, which is a deep dive with Jack and Wilson. And please hit like and subscribe if you want to help us spread the word around the globe. Hey Jack and Wilson, it's all yours.
Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're like us, you want the critical insights without having to do all the endless reading, and that's what we do here.
We take the sources you send us, articles, notes, research, and we pull out the moments that really make you stop and think.
And today, our mission is to, completely redefine your relationship with the sky. We're focusing on something you see literally every single day: clouds.
But we're not just exploring meteorology. This deep dive is about astonishing scale, invisible physics, and a comparison that, believe it or not, spans thousands of years.
Yeah, it's a big one. The sources we have detail the, frankly, mind-bending weight of an average cloud, the science that keeps it up there, and why, for some, this specific process is cited as proof that an ancient text is divine.
The Quran, specifically.
Exactly. But we have to start with the scale, because it is, and I'm not exaggerating, terrifying.
It really is. One of the sources sets the stage perfectly. They talk about this experiment where they took a container holding 2 tons of water.
2 tons, that's what, 2,000 kilograms?
Right. And they dropped it from a pretty significant height right onto a stationary car.
And the result?
Total destruction. The source uses the phrase, absolutely no chance. This wasn't a dent. It was like a complete obliteration of the car's structure.
So that's our baseline. A clear demonstration that 2,000 kilograms of mass, plus gravity, is, it's a catastrophically destructive force. You have to hold that image in your mind.
You really do.
Okay, so let's unpack this, because here is the jaw-dropping fact the source then introduces.
This is the part that gets me every time.
The average weight of a single cloud, a regular puffy cumulus cloud, is conservatively estimated at 500,000 kilograms.
500,000 kilos.
500,000.
Just think about that comparison, that single fluffy-looking cloud over your head. It's 250 times heavier than the block of water that just pulverized a car.
It's hard to even picture. Put it another way, 500,000 kilograms is like...
What?
100 adult elephants?
100 elephants, or about 25 fully loaded semi-trucks. All of that just floating, seemingly without any effort at all.
It just completely changes what heavy even means in the atmosphere. So that leads us to the core puzzle we're supposed to solve today.
Yeah, the big one.
If that cloud weighs 500,000 kilograms, a weight 250 times more destructive than our car experiment, why doesn't it just obey gravity?
Why aren't we seeing a constant, apocalyptic rain of 500,000 kilogram water bombs falling on our cities?
Exactly. And that invisible solution, the very mechanism that keeps it suspended, is what the source material claims was revealed 1,400 years ago.
And that, they argue, is proof that the knowledge in the text isn't. Well, it isn't human.
That is a very high-stakes comparison. So let's get into it. The physics of how this all works, the deep dive into invisible pillars.
I like that.
We've established the scale is terrifying. So the question is, how does all that water just defy gravity?
Well, the religious source frames this right away. It references the sky itself, stating that Allah raised the heavens without pillars that you can see.
Okay, so that sets the stage. We're not looking for something solid holding it all up.
No, we're looking for an invisible, functional mechanism, a process.
So what makes up that mechanism? The sources break down the physics of cloud formation pretty clearly. It all starts with the sun, right?
It all starts with the sun. It heats the earth, water evaporates from oceans, lakes, you name it, and this water vapor, because it's warmer and lighter, starts to rise up.
Up into the cooler parts of the atmosphere.
Exactly. And as that vapor goes up, it hits that cold air and cools down really fast. It condenses back into liquid water. But, and this is the critical part, not as a single stream.
Right, it forms millions and millions of these.
Yeah.
These incredibly tiny, microscopic water droplets.
And then the wind just acts like a cosmic broom, sweeping all these little droplets together into a clump that we see and call a cloud.
It's so easy to miss that detail, but it seems to be the entire key to how this works.
Yeah.
The sources really stress this. The water droplets, they never physically join together.
They don't merge. They stay fragmented, separated, spread out. just sort of floating near each other, but never fusing into one big mass.
So a cloud is really just an optical illusion of being solid.
Precisely. It's really just millions of distinct individual particles. And that fragmentation, that's the secret sauce for stability.
Because if you had 500,000 kilograms of water all fused into one object, it would just
drop instantly. But because it's spread out across millions of tiny particles, we're not talking about collapse anymore. We're talking about balance.
Okay, so let's talk about that balance. What are the forces at play here, keeping everything in equilibrium?
Well, you've got two main forces. On one side, you have the weight of all those little water droplets. Collectively, that's a massive force pushing down. That's gravity.
Gravity trying to pull that 500,000 kilos to the ground.
Yep. But on the other side, you have that continuous flow of rising water vapor, the stuff that just evaporated, and it's creating a constant thermal updraft, a force pushing up.
Ah, so it's a cosmic tug of war. The weight of the droplets pulls down, but the rising vapor is pushing up from below.
And when those two forces are equal, when the updraft perfectly cancels out the distributed weight of the droplets, the cloud is stable.
It just sits there, as the source says, drifting, held up by literally nothing you can see.
The invisible pillar. But then that brings up another great question, one that early science couldn't really answer.
Which is?
If the vapor is always rising, if that engine from below never stops, why doesn't the cloud just keep floating higher and higher until it, leaves the atmosphere?
That's a good point, yeah. So what's stopping it from just floating off into space?
The sources suggest it's a self-regulating cycle. As the cloud rises, the air gets colder, right? So condensation speeds up, and the cloud actually gains mass. It gets heavier.
So its own weight gain starts to fight against the upward momentum.
Exactly. It finds this sort of atmospheric sweet spot, an altitude where the two forces stabilize. It prevents both collapse and escape. The whole system just regulates itself.
That is incredible precision, and it all depends on those water particles staying separate.
100%. If they all clump together into a dense mass, that balance would be gone in an instant. The whole suspension would fail.
Which brings us perfectly to the next puzzle. Let's call it rain in perfect measure.
Okay.
So if the cloud is this massive collection of water in this delicate balance,
Yeah.
why doesn't the moment that balance tips result in an immediate total collapse, a 500,000 kilogram crash?
And again, it all comes back to that fundamental principle of fragmentation. Because the droplets are separate, they just don't have the density of a single unified object.
So when the system gets unstable, it fails. What, one tiny piece at a time?
One particle at a time. It's not a single event. Rain is a process. That flow of rising water vapor, it keeps pushing up into the cloud.
And that adds more moisture.
Which makes the existing individual droplets a little heavier, a little bigger. They're slowly accumulating mass, molecule by molecule.
And the failure is microphysical. So when the weight of one single droplet finally gets heavy enough that gravity wins,
its downward force beats the upward push of the vapor.
only that one droplet starts to fall.
That's a raindrop. The millions of other droplets that are still balanced, they just stay up there, suspended.
So a rainstorm is really just that process happening millions of times over. It's a sequence, not a single instantaneous event.
And the sources really emphasize how profound this is, this measured descent. Imagine if that fragmentation failed. Imagine if 500,000 kilograms of water came down all at once.
The 2-ton car crash would look like a puddle.
It would be instantaneous, lethal flash floods. It would destroy everything underneath it.
So the genius of the mechanism, according to the text, is that the rain comes down in parts, in perfect measure.
Not too much that it destroys us, which allows the ground time to actually absorb the water, and crucially, not too little such that the earth remains dry and broken and dead.
This delicate process is why Earth works. It's what supports agriculture, ecosystems, life itself.
Life is completely dependent on this tiny microphysical balancing act that dictates the slow, manageable release of 500,000 kilograms of water.
That physics alone is just. It's mind-boggling. To think that the difference between our survival and total obliteration is just the separation of water molecules.
It is.
But then, what happens when we jump 1,400 years into the past? Because that's where the source material takes us next.
And this is the core of the claim of divinity. The entire process we just laid out, the balance of forces, the updraft, the absolute necessity of fragmentation, it's all completely invisible.
You can't see it with the naked eye. You can't look up and see conflicting forces or the separation of microscopic droplets.
No, you can't. You need advanced science. To study this stuff today, meteorologists use incredibly complex modern technology.
We're talking about satellites, right? Doppler radars that can see inside the cloud.
Satellites, Doppler radars, specialized aircraft flying through the clouds, microphysics labs. It's a huge operation.
And the historical context here is everything. Think about the world 1,400 years ago, especially in the Arabian desert.
They had no concept of atmospheric pressure systems, no way to weigh a cloud, and certainly no technology that could observe the behavior of microscopic water droplets. The idea of fragmentation, that they stay separate instead of just fusing, that requires instruments.
And yet, the sources point to a specific verse in the Quran, arguing it describes this entire multi-step process with stunning accuracy.
Let's break down the claim against the physics. The verse starts by saying, God sends the winds, which stir the clouds and spread them.
Okay, that matches our first point. The wind gathering the vapor and forming the visible structure.
Right, but then the verse uses this critical phrase. It says that God makes them fragments.
Fragments, not just makes them into a cloud or makes them rain.
Exactly. It specifically describes the particles as being separated. This directly matches the key microphysical discovery we just talked about. The water has to remain fragmented for the whole system to work.
For stability and for that measured descent.
And then finally, the verse says that rain emerges from within them, and the result is that people rejoice. It's a source of life.
Which it wouldn't be if they all joined together. The water would be too dense, it would be destructive. Because they're fragmented, the rain is life-sustaining.
For those making this argument, the inclusion of that specific word, fragments, a precise detail you can only confirm with modern science, is considered definitive proof.
Proof that the source of the information had to be beyond the scientific capability of that time and place. The author couldn't have known that just by looking up at the sky.
And the claim is that this isn't a one-off. The text also discusses other complex topics, stars, mountains, the sea, suggesting a comprehensive knowledge that just wasn't available in the desert back then.
So, what does all this mean for you? You've seen the shocking scale, 500,000 kilograms floating over your head. You understand the intricate physics of fragmentation and balanced forces.
And you know the claim that this entire invisible process was described 1,400 years ago, using language that aligns almost perfectly with modern microphysics.
And the source material connects this physical miracle directly to a profound spiritual message.
Yes, it uses the whole process of rain as an analogy for life, death, and resurrection.
Drawing that parallel, just as you see the earth when it's lifeless, dry, barren, looks dead, and then this perfectly measured water comes down and stirs it back to life,
causing it to swell and bring forth plants and fruits.
The source asks you to consider that revival.
And it raises a really important question. The text explicitly states that the one who has the power to revive the dead earth also has the power to bring the human dead back to life.
So watching this life-giving, measured rain should, according to the text, be a daily reminder.
A reminder of creation and resurrection, urging you to prepare for an afterlife based on your deeds in this one.
So the next time you look up at the clouds, what are you seeing? Are you seeing suspended physics, an incredible feat of fragmented water defying gravity? Or are you seeing an active, deliberate sign of resurrection described with precision in an ancient text?
That's your deep dive homework.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. I hope you've gained some valuable insights. If you're a truth seeker, yearning for divine light and ready to step out of darkness, now is your moment. The truth is that Allah is the one and only creator of the universe. He has sent over 124,000 messengers and prophets to guide humanity, starting with Adam and culminating with the final messenger, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them all. If you resonate with this message, you might be ready to embrace Islam. Simply recite the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith. For further support, feel free to join our WhatsApp group. You can send us a private message there. The link is in the video description. Don't wait until it's too late. We look forward to connecting with you soon.